Hello everyone, today I'll explore how intercultural communication theories, especially those by Fred Janet and Edward Hall, help us understand communication across cultures in a digital world. I'll also show how modern media, identity, and power reshape those classical ideas. The goal is to bridge the textbook theories with what actually happens in online and global contexts. This presentation builds on my thoughts paper, Connecting Theory and Application. First, I analyzed Jandet's main ideas, context, and intercultural competencies. Second, I examine how identity and power influences communication. Finally, I propose updated directions for studying communication in digital and multicultural spaces. Hall described high-context cultures like Japan, where meaning depends on shared backgrounds, tone, and nonverbal cues. Low-context cultures like the US or Germany rely on explicit language. Jandet used this to teach cultural awareness, but online we lose much of that context. Think about texting, memes, or sarcasm. Without tone or shared cues, messages can be easily misunderstood. Emojis and reaction images now substitute for tone, becoming a new form of context. Platforms like TikTok limit space, pushing even high-context communicators towards concise low-context styles. Dominant cultural groups often set the default meaning, what counts as funny, polite, or offensive, so power decides whose context rules. Globalization mixes style, hybrid users adapt multiple norms depending on audience. So instead of statistic categories, contexts become fluid and platform specific. Jandet defines ICC, intercultural communication competence, through attitudes, knowledge, motivation, skills, and ethics. It's about awareness and adaptability, understanding your own identity while respecting others. However, he frames it mostly as personal adaptation, not as a mutual negotiation. In real-world interactions, especially online, communication success depends on both sides validating each other's ideas. Kupachi and Imorchi identify management theory shows people juggle multiple identities, cultural, relational, professional, and shift them to maintain harmony. Jackson's cultural contract theory as the power lens, some groups enter ready to sign contracts where they must conform to dominant norms, while others negotiate or resist. Together, they remind us that competency isn't just adapting, it's co-creating relationships where both sides feel seen and respected. Media aren't neutral. Algorithms shape what cultures and stories we see. For example, recommendation systems can amplify stereotypes or silence marginalized voices. At the same time, users create counter-narratives, dysphoria communities, connect, express pride, and redefine identity through context. Each platform has its own culture. TikTok's trend differs from LinkedIn's tone or Instagram's visuals. We need a digital intercultural competency model combining classic competency with digital literacy. That means understanding algorithms, recognizing misinformation, and learning to repair miscommunication online. Ethical boundaries matter. Adaptation should never mean self-service. Cross-platforms research can show how people negotiate identity differently on each site. Intercultural communication today blends context, power, and media, which would equal modern communication. Competency has evolved into negotiation and mutual validation. Media actively co-creates cultural meanings, not just deliver messages. The future depends on intersectional, platform-aware approaches. In short, intercultural competency is not just adaptation, it's co-creation. When we integrate power, context, and technology into our communication theories, we build fairer, more inclusive conversations. Thank you for listening.